Now it's time for Call the Floor with Elliott Schechter.
Elliott Schechter is the poker room manager for Rivers Casino in Schenectady, New York. He joins us each week to say how he would rule on situations that come up in your games, and he's with me again this week. Hey, Elliott, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, thanks. How you doing?
I am doing well. Hey, we have a Call the Floor this week that's sent in by Michael. He just gave me his first name, Michael, in Kansas City, Missouri, not Kansas City, Kansas.
That's where most of Kansas City is.
It is true. Michael says that he open shoves pre-flop from under the gun in a tournament with a dead small blind. It folds around, and the dealer pushes me the pot, and I release my hand as the button says I still have cards. My hand is unidentifiable and irretrievable, which is important. The floor is called. He rules that the button's hand is live because the big blind's fold did not constitute significant action, and, citing a WSOP rule, I must surrender a min raise to him. When I say that I only mucked my hand once the dealer started pushing me the pot, he agrees that it is an unfortunate situation. Was this the right decision?
There's a lot to unpack here. Dealer obviously pushes the pot to the guy, thinking the round is over.
Right.
Well, why did the guy on the button wait till the pot was pushed to speak up?
Yeah.
Give me a break. At some point, he's responsible for knowing when it's his turn to act. He had plenty of opportunity before that pot was pushed to speak up. And he really did. The big blind acted, and he still didn't speak up. The dealer pushed the pot, and he finally spoke up. So, yeah, that's the way the rule is written, even in the TDA, as long as generally the least amount of chips possible you can move to the other player. But that rule shouldn't apply here. The guy on the button didn't act in turn. He waited way too long. He let the action pass him. And at this point, it almost looks intentional, although you can't say one way or the other. But at some point, he's responsible for speaking up and letting everybody know he's got cards before the hand is over. And generally, when you consider significant action, the dealer burning and turning or moving chips to a player, that's also considered part of the action. Well, in this very specific situation, I'm not inclined to let the button's hand be live. Tough. Speak up. Pay attention. Protect your hand. You didn't do any of those things. And the best part was the guy who open raised, our hero, he held his cards until the pot was pushed to him.
Right.
He did everything he was supposed to do. Why does none of that count? But the guy who wasn't paying attention and let the action past him, he gets relief from the rules. But the guy who followed the rules and did everything correctly gets no relief? You know what? Tough. Go to hell. I'm not inclined to give the guy on the button a single chip. Sir, you got a dead hand. You had plenty of time to speak up. There's no more board. This hand doesn't play. We're done. Your cards are dead. This is the winner. Moving on with life here. This was the wrong decision. Very specifically to this specific situation where a guy lets the action pass and then speaks up when all is said and done. I will go to great lengths to never decide in that person's favor.
Yeah. I've seen situations where, one person is thinking and you'll see one person fold after him and it starts like a chain reaction of people folding. But
Sure.
Usually, it doesn't get very far before somebody speaks up, whether it's the person with the cards in their hand or it's the dealer that says, hold on, hold on, hold on. So the dealer definitely has part of this, part of the blame falls on the dealer here, I believe, too. But
unless it's a seat 1, seat 9 situation where the big blind and the button can't see each other, there's little excuse for the button not speaking up at all ever.
Right. Yeah, the majority of this definitely falls on that player, and it definitely does kind of feel like an angle shoot of sorts. So,
inadvertently or not, some people are just doofuses and just can't pay attention. Well, they're welcome action for the game. Let's face it, the game is built upon players who are obviously not playing at 100%. That's how most people win, playing against people who don't play as well.
right.
At some point, any player sitting down, regardless of skill level, is obligated to actually pay attention and speak up when things are happening exactly like this. The few times it's happened when somebody has jumped over me in the action, I've spoken, sir, it's not your turn yet. I've got cards right here. I haven't just waited for everything to happen. I mean, this leads into one of the most misused rules and poor decisions across the game, which is the inadvertent burn and turn, where obviously all of a sudden a guy pops up with cards. In a lot of those cases, it's not a burn and turn. It's a guy letting 5 people act and then seeing another card or flop and then deciding he doesn't like it and saying, wait a minute, I still got cards. I didn't act yet. Wrong. You let the action pass. Your hand's dead.
Yeah.
And it almost never gets ruled correctly. A lot of times, that's actually a dead hand, not an inadvertent burn and turn. So this is very similar, although the burn and turn was obviously pushing the pot. At some point, the player who was skipped is responsible, and in this case, he certainly was.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, we always come back to the pay attention, but in this case, you got to speak up. You got to say, hey, I have some cards here. So,
right. As soon as the big blind sends his cards into the book, you're supposed to speak up and say, wait a minute, it's not your turn yet. We've said it before. It is not the dealer's job to tell you when it is your turn. It is your job to know when it is your turn. It is specifically the dealer's job to let you know when you're acting out of turn.
Right. Yeah, Michael, I mean, this is interesting, and it definitely sounds like they stuck to a rule that doesn't apply here. So that's unfortunate, but yeah, I mean, you technically did everything you could do by holding onto your hand until the pot was being pushed to you.
Yeah.
So it really is unfortunate, as you stated. But thanks for sending that in. And if anyone has a call the floor that they would like to know how Elliott would rule, send it to podcast@ante@magazine.com. Elliott, I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Glad to do it.
And we'll see you next week.
See you then. Thanks.